join us. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Orthodox Christian for Palestine's first Zoom event. I am Rajai Khoury, and we are grateful to have you here. Today, we are joined by Dr. Rajai Khoury and Dr. Ruba Sarsour to talk about medical aid for people of Gaza. We will begin with the two short verses that guide our missions. Psalms 133:1. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. A little about us. Orthodox Christian for Palestine is a grassroots group formed by Orthodox Christian in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. We work to raise awareness, educate, and support humanitarian efforts for Palestine. Two of our main goals are educating churches and communities in North America about what Palestinian face, helping amplify the voices of people suffering in the Holy Land. As Proverbs 31:8-9 remind us, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. We believe it's our responsibility to use our skills and voices to support justice and care for our people. Okay, here what we expect today, Dr. Rajai Khoury will start by sharing about a Prosthetics For Palestine, a new project by Physicians for Palestine. Then Dr. Ruba Sarsour will speak. Afterward, we will then open the floor for a dialogue with Mr. Albert Mkhaber, followed by a discussion from the floor. Please keep your mics muted and drop your question in the chat at any time. Before we begin, I would like to briefly introduce Dr. Rajai Khoury. His work has made a real difference for Palestinians, both in outside and medical field. He led many medical missions, performed life-saving procedures, and brought in a new medical tools and methods. He helped launch telemedicine programs that give patients in Palestine access to expert diagnosis and led major upgrades to the Palestinian medical complex. Recently, he worked tirelessly to help a cancer patient in Gaza get that care she needed. Just one example of his deep compassion. Dr. Khoury also supports Palestinian farmers and raises funds through efforts like selling Palestinian olive oil and handmade soap. It's an honor to welcome someone who truly lives out this commitment to Palestine. Please join me to warmly welcoming Dr. Rajai Khoury.
Good afternoon, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Rula, you're very kind. I wish I did half of what you said I did. I am a cardiac and vascular surgeon. I started my career very early on. I was born in Ramallah, Palestine, and went to high school there, the French school, and then went to the American University of Beirut for my undergraduate course at the AUB, and did my medical school training there. Then came to America and became a general surgeon, cardiac and vascular surgeon, vein surgeon, endovascular surgeon, and all that stuff. I am now on the downhill of my career. Very soon I'll be retired. Akbar Handkom, may you have that honor and privilege to retire soon. And please don't get gray before you retire. So I have been involved with volunteer medical care all through my career from my high school on. But it started in earnest when I was in college, in medical school. where I used to volunteer in Palestinian refugee camps, established clinics, and started a program for well baby clinics and led campaigns against parasites in the camps and against the scabies, etc. And then later on, when I matured and had a few pennies in my pocket, could afford to travel, I joined a group. We were a ragtag group of physicians and other professionals, fundraisers, etc., that traveled to Palestine and did operations and did medical care and then trained doctors there. And we developed with the field. The medical field in Palestine now is pretty developed. They have very good cadres of doctors and nurses and hospitals. And we found out that now they won't need us as much to perform care, but they needed capacity building. So we successfully launched several programs, one of which is a vascular program, which is a program aimed at performing limb and life-saving balloons and stents for the legs and the kidneys and aneurysms and the brain, carotid arteries. And then we did a women's healthcare. The main hospital in the West Bank didn't have a single mammogram unit. So we got them 2 units. One of them is, both of them are digital, but one of them is able to do digital mammogram, mammotome biopsies, and added the colposcopy, hysteroscopy, bone density. And then we did a pathology lab, which was one of the best in the whole Middle East, that is able to do artificial intelligence reading of the slides. And we provided telemedicine for pathology and all the other kinds of medicines. We also did a pulmonary function lab, and I'll let Dr. Ruba talk about some other projects. I'm not saying this to brag to you. I'm the least one to brag in the world. What I'm saying that for is to tell you that we are a group of doctors that mean what we do. And when we start a project, we see it to fruition and completion, and we'll keep it maintained to serve the Palestinian people perpetually. We also are operational in Lebanon and Syria. Now, basically, this group, the same group that we're working for over 40 years in Palestine, decided, and we did work for many other organizations, Physicians for Peace, ANIRA. I was on the board of ANIRA for a while. I'm on the board of Jerusalem Fund. We collaborate with all these organizations. I started the medical mission for the American Ramallah Federation. And we decided to organize under a new name. And we called ourselves Physicians for Palestine because we truly serve the whole of Palestine. I think a better name would have been Physicians for the Arab World, but for now, we'll be satisfied with Palestine. Since the war on Gaza, we decided to ask ourselves the difficult question, what do the Gaza people need? And the answer was obvious. They need everything, all the time. And can't do that. We're not offering ourselves as a replacement for the health services of Palestine. We just want to help. So we decided to concentrate on one project and do it well, do it at the top standards of care, and do it for the long term. And that project was prosthetics. Now, I let Dr. Sarsour to address that project. And just to mention one thing very important before I give the podium to Dr. Sarsour, we launched a program called the Safety and Quality of Healthcare in Palestine just before the war in Gaza with the ex-Minister of Health. That faltered temporarily, they paused because of the war on Gaza. But we did not abandon the idea and the project for quality and safety of medicine in Palestine. Every project we do has in it a quality assurance project that we make sure that first we do no harm. We do no harm, meaning that the quality and safety of what we do is tip-top. With that, allow me to introduce Dr. Sarsour, who's a board member of the Physicians for Palestine, who's a kidney specialist, nephrologist in Nebraska. Her husband is a pulmonary medicine critical care in Nebraska as well. Both of them have been going on medical trips to Palestine with a group. They are both members of the board of Physicians for Palestine. They have established another charity organization called Hanan Refugee Relief. But I think I'll let her talk more about herself. Dr. Ruba, تفضلي.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you all for having us. I didn't realize this would be the first convening for the Orthodox Christians for Palestine. So what an honor to be part of your first convening. Thank you for giving us that honor. And thank you, Dr. Rajai, for the introduction. My name is Ruba Sarsour. I'm a nephrologist or a kidney doctor, Palestinian, living in Nebraska right now, but from North Carolina. Dr. Rajai spoke very little about all the accomplishments that the physicians of this group have been able to do in Palestine. These are just some of them, some of the innovative techniques and innovations that they brought to Ramallah Hospital and the West Bank. And then he touched base a little bit on the quality project that we're launching that has been on pause because of the war, but hopefully very soon we could resume it, which is multidimensional, large quality program for all the hospitals in the West Bank to ensure that we have the best quality measures, the best septic techniques, international standards for all our operational rooms and so forth. So far, two main things that we care about at Physicians for Palestine is long-term commitment and high standards of quality. Those are for all of our projects. The main things that we focus on. We want to build a sustainable system that always has high standards of quality, innovation, and long-lasting impact. So you'll notice that in all of the projects that we introduce and continue to work on. Now, the two projects that we're going to touch base on today is the peritoneal dialysis project and the Prosthetics for Palestine. I'm going to just quickly talk about the peritoneal dialysis and focus more on the prosthetics. Peritoneal dialysis is basically what you see here. And the reason I bring it up is because there's about over 3,000 patients in Palestine or in Palestine that have complete kidney failure that require kidney replacement therapy or dialysis. Basically when your kidneys shut down, you need something else to replace your kidneys so that you can stay alive. The most common form of dialysis in the West Bank and Gaza is hemodialysis. Now, hemodialysis entails that you go to a center. There's only 10 centers in the West Bank and one in Gaza. You have to travel to a center 3 times a week, and each time you're sitting there for 4 hours hooked up to a machine to clean your blood. Now, knowing the situation in Palestine and the West Bank, you know there's countless numbers of checkpoints, and people go through checkpoints and they're delayed at checkpoints, and sometimes they can't even get through the checkpoints. And what does that mean? That means you may not get your treatment that you need, and that could lead to death. Aside from that, let's say we don't have any checkpoints and you have to go to hemodialysis and you can get through to hemodialysis, your day is already occupied. So a lot of people can't work and can't go to school because a huge chunk of their days are spent at the hemodialysis unit. So what we introduced is peritoneal dialysis using a cycler. And you can see in the picture, it's basically a machine that sits on a nightstand next to the person in bed, and they hook themselves up at night and they go to bed. And when they wake up, they unplug themselves and they're done with dialysis. So that removes the hassle of traveling through checkpoints, that removes the commitment of at least 12 hours a week at dialysis units. And you can work during the day, you can go to school during the day. So it's very, very, very impactful. And like we said, we care so much about quality of life and psychosocial support and all that. So this is the whole package. You get home-based care, you do it at home, no transportation, and you can continue almost a normal life, work, social events, and even less dietary restrictions. So this is something that we've introduced last year. We've already started with a couple of patients. We've done training for physicians, nurses, and surgeons that place the catheters. And we're providing the cyclers, and we get some of the fluid that's needed from the Ministry of Health. So this is basically a life-changing project in the West Bank, and hopefully in the future we could introduce it in Gaza. But I know everybody wants to hear about the Prosthetics for Palestine, so we're going to talk about that. The way we did Prosthetics for Palestine is we basically are dividing it into a phase approach. So you have the phase 1, which is emergency phase, or during the war, which is right now. What can we do during the war? There's obviously a lot of restrictions. And then phase 2, which is early recovery right after the war. Then you have the development phase. But during all 3 phases, we have a parallel track that's going to be happening in the West Bank. I'm going to talk about those. And anybody, if if anything is not clear as I talk, it's okay. Feel free to interrupt me and stop me if you need to. So phase one, emergency phase or during the war, what we're doing is we're collaborating with an institution called ALPC, which is Artificial Limb and Polio Center. It's basically the main prosthetics center in Gaza. That's the main one. There's another one that's a Hamad Hospital. Those are the two main ones, but the ALPC is the main, currently semi-functioning one in Gaza. So what we're doing with them during this phase, because of the restrictions, is we're training and hiring 2 prosthetists, a prosthetic technician, a program coordinator, and what we call a CAD/CAM specialist, which is basically somebody that uses computers for designs to make the prosthetists, the limbs, the parts. During this phase, we're only focusing on unilegs, like one leg below the knee. And the initial target is 10 patients. Obviously, if we're able to do more and the restrictions allow us to do more than 10, then we will do more than 10. But we're starting with 10. And we're trying to also deliver non-reusable material for whatever they can produce in Gaza, give them some of the non-reusable material that's allowed to get in. At the same time, we're developing educational courses and training workshops for people in Gaza and in the West Bank. Now, let's say we have absolutely nothing can go in at all into Gaza during this period of time. Then we continue to help ALPC with whatever we can, whatever is allowed. And if they have some internet connection, we do some training, some support. But at the same time, we're working on establishing a center in the West Bank. And the goal of the center is to start training and producing these limbs so that later they're delivered to Gaza. Also, at the same time, if we get a good training and good foundation in the West Bank, that could be used to train further in Gaza once things open up. So this is during the war. So hopefully the war is over very, very soon, inshallah. Then we'll go into the early recovery phase, which is right after the war. What we're going to do is we're going to, if there's any ALPC structure, like the actual facility that needs reconstruction or repair, we're going to help with that. We're going to expand the training of the prosthetist. So initially we said 2. Where we have a ratio of 50 to 1. So for every 50 patients, we're going to train 1 prosthetist. Obviously, we're going to collaborate with the surgeons in Gaza. If they need any training or anything, we'll help them. But I think most of them are very well trained and educated. We'll collaborate with them because it's a collaboration project. You need the surgeons. And if we're able to, if it's accessible and we're allowed, we want to establish also a 3D prosthetics lab in Gaza that will be similar to the one in the West Bank. So the West Bank will give us that knowledge and kind of like the trial so that we can implement it in Gaza. And finally, we'll install a solar energy system so that way we can ensure uninterrupted power. Because to do a 3D printer and print limbs, you need to have uninterrupted power. If during the printing, the power is interrupted, we have to start all over again. So that would be why we're doing that. And what we're going to do is we're going to further train and employ physical therapists, occupational therapists, rehab specialists, and of course, psychological support for all the patients, which is very, very crucial for their recovery and very important part of their recovery. You can't just give them a limb and just be like, okay, here you go, bye, and you're done. You have to have continuous psychological support, continuous follow-up, continuous monitoring. And this, again, is what we talked about that's important for us, quality and long-term and sustainability. So there's going to be, we're going to do progress tracking throughout the whole treatment and just very close monitoring of the patients. And then every 6 months or so, we're going to have a 4-month period for data collections to learn how to further improve what we're doing. Again, quality is essential for us. Basically, at the end of the day, whatever is not acceptable to patients in the US will not be acceptable to patients in Gaza, and nothing less than that standard is allowed for us. The way we're prioritizing this project is we're going to start with below the knee amputations, master that, move to above the knee amputations, master that, and then hip level, and then the upper limbs, and then orthotics, which is like fingers, toes, stuff like that. like I said, each phase will have approximately 6 months. Obviously, there's limitations. If it needs longer, it will do longer depending on how easy or accessible things are. But we're always going to have a 4-month period at least to do data collection and quality improvement. And then phase 3 is going to be basically to build upon phase 2. So everything we're doing in phase 2, we're going to just magnify it and increase the number of patients and increase the quality and just make everything bigger and better is going to be phase 3. And we talked about the West Bank program development, which is what we said. We're going to develop a lab in the West Bank, train the same thing for prosthetists, technicians, specialists, program coordinator there. And that is going to be really to serve the people in Gaza, but we also have amputees in the West Bank that also need to be served. So that will be happening in parallel, starting from now and as we grow in Gaza as well, inshallah, very time soon. Long-term planning, this is what we were talking about. Like for every 50 patients, we're going to have one prosthetist. This is for us really internally to know what we're going to need, how many specialists, how many technicians, where we're going to do the center at in the West Bank. And that is it. So if you have any questions, I'll stop sharing. Yeah.
If you allow me, before the questions, to introduce 3 prominent members of our group. I see them on the screen. Dr. Eid Mustafa is a plastic reconstructive surgeon. I traveled with him, not here with me, for over 40 years to the West Bank and to other parts of the Arab world. I saw him, I witnessed him do amazing work. He's one of the best plastic reconstructive surgeons I've ever met. Eid, you have 1 minute to introduce yourself and the group, Habibi.
Thank you, Dr. Sarsour. Nice to meet you, Doctor. Now we're going to open the floor for Mr. Albert Mkheber for a dialogue with Dr. Khoury and Dr. Sarsour.
Let me introduce 2 more members of our group that are very valuable.
Okay.
Nikhil Dehani, he's our quality person. He is amazing. I mean, the quality protocols he put are amazing, and he does a lot of other things. Natalia Baranik is one of our professional prosthetists who oversee the project and do the clinical part, as well as the research and development part with Nikhil and the other prosthetists. Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Erla. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, Mr. Albert.
Yeah, let me thank all of you wonderful people who are doing this work and all the people who've joined. This is an amazing group, and there's one person that I want to recognize on this list who's a hero of mine, who's been doing work for Palestinians in the medical field since the 1980s. And that's Ellen Siegel, who we met, unfortunately, after the Sabra Shatila massacre, when she was a nurse in Lebanon, taking care of unbelievable injuries at that time. We didn't think it can get any worse, but obviously it seems that it has. So Ellen, thank you for joining us this morning. There's a series of questions that were already submitted that I'm going to go through, but if anyone else has them, please put them in the chat. We'll get to those as well. The first one is, are you a registered 501c3 tax-exempt organization, and are your donations tax deductible?
I'll answer that if you don't mind. The answer is yes. We are a 501c3 charitable organization. Your deduction, your tax, your donations are tax exempt for any portion of it that you don't receive services in return. And we are in the process of registering in Palestine. Inshallah, it will happen very, very soon.
Fantastic. And then the next question is related to that is, can you talk about your overhead and administrative expenses?
That's a good question. We as a group have always been a group of volunteers. Our services are completely voluntary service. We employ very few people on a part-time basis to help us with record keeping, etc. And everything we do in expenses, like travel, food, lodging, hotels, is basically out of our pocket, not out of the charity's pocket. So when people ask me, what is your expense ratio? I proudly say it's -5. The Red Cross, for example, is 70%. They spend 30% on other services other than the target they intended to. We have a -5, and I say jokingly because what we do is we give every penny we get to the project, and we, on top of it, add our expenses to it. That's where the -5 comes from.
I'm sorry to interrupt you guys. I have Dr. Khoury in the chat who's worked with prosthesis for many years as an orthopedic surgeon and wanted to just say a few words, if that's okay to interrupt.
Sure.
Thank you. I'm Jim Khoury. I've been working with prosthesis since 1979 in Cambodia and with Handicap International and the ICRC. Couple points. I think you do a great job, fantastic job. But try to be sure all the prosthetic shops use similar equipment. I've been in places where everybody has their own system, they don't match each other, and you can't repair them. The second thing, I'm impressed with this new 3D mapping, 3D printer. That's a whole new system. I've not gotten a hold of the ICRC the last 2 weeks, but I think they're still using polypropylene. I've always used polypropylene in developing countries because it's easy to work with. And then you mentioned above knee amputations. I found in a study in Cambodia, most above knee prostheses end up in the closet. People will go to different professors, get 2 or 3 of them in the closet. They don't use them. When well done below knee, obviously used well. So I'm impressed with you working with. I found another group in Jordan called Step by Step Project. They claim they're helicoptering people to Jordan and sending them back. That's fine, but you need to keep your prosthetic shop near where the people are. They need repairs all the time. I think your project is very impressive, but try to keep everybody on the same technology is very helpful. Thank you.
Well, first, thank you for your service. This is admirable. Second, thank you for your recommendation and suggestion. If I may ask, I have 2 members of our group who are experts in this field. If I may have them chime in. Natalia, would you please chime in? And Nikhil, on the comments that our esteemed friend just gave. Natalia and Nikhil, are you still there?
Yes,
yes,
yes.
we're still here. Yeah, no, I mean, I trust Dr. Khoury's experience having done this so long. But yeah, above knee amputation prostheses are really hard to keep up with. They're usually heavy and a little bit unwieldy. But something we've been talking about when we started working with Limber and the unit leg was our ability to make sure that everything was local. And then us working on the West Bank project as well is going to help keep everything a lot more local than what we're doing now. And so that's where the parallel tracks are kind of working to play to make sure that everything can be adjusted on site. The reason we went with this 3D printed project was to reduce how much had to be shipped in, especially given the really unyieldy abilities to get things into Gaza. So we opted for something where we would only have to ship 1 prosthesis with only a couple different accessories to go along with it. So the ability to keep the prosthetic on the leg, you need a gel liner, and then a foot shell to protect the prosthetic foot. So it really takes down how much needs to be shipped in, and gives a better chance overall, versus needing about 15 supplies to ship in for one prosthesis.
And then to speak to some of the process elements, again, hi, Mikhail Dohe, quality manager for Prosthetics for Palestine. My main perspective is I want to make sure everything is sustainable. So we have currently a 67-page quality document that is outlining the entire process and is compliant with ISO 13826. Which is an international standard for medical devices, both for and I'm additionally augmenting that with any additional ISOs as well, so we can stay WHO compliant, FDA compliant, and general like universal standard compliant. The main thing we want to be able to highlight is that throughout every single extension of the process, whether it be in Gaza or the West Bank, we want to follow a similar process so that we can identify if there's any specific points of failure or specific points of areas where either materials aren't working or something isn't scalable for the situation. We can identify that quickly. And especially during data collection, we want to be able to make sure that even though there are obviously extenuating circumstances given that Gaza is a war zone, we want to make sure we can still deliver that level of quality. So that is definitely something that we're thinking about. And I'm glad that you mentioned some of those aspects as well, because Definitely throughout this process, a lot of the biggest challenges have been thinking outside the box in terms of logistics. Some of the ways 3D printing and the digital workflow have been able to allow us to adapt to an ongoing situation is by utilizing cutting edge technology, but also making sure we're still FDA compliant and ensuring that the materials are still biocompatible, materials are scalable for the situation, due with heat, dust, all the relevant elements that are going to be affecting them. And do the printing process and the scanning process, we can make changes to the scans very quickly because we use scanning via iPhone. So we were able to assist in terms of getting iPhones in. And then because of the process being like more digital focused, it allows us to have a lower sort of like physical material footprint. So it allows us to essentially, if we have to move locations, if we have to work between West Bank and Gaza, the workflow is designed to be adaptable to not just this area, but any areas that have similar circumstances. And we're designing our quality initiative with that in mind.
Thank you, Nikhil. Mr. Khoury, I would like to add one thing. You obviously had extensive experience. I know I've not met you, but I know a lot about you. I heard a lot about you. We'll be honored and pleased if you can attend one of our meetings. Maybe you'd like us enough to chime in and help us.
Absolutely. I love to work with you. I'm always available.
We thank you, and I will take you up on that. Ruba, can you please get the information on Mr. Khoury and use him for as much as he can allow us to use him.
This is the wonderful thing about these events, is that bringing all these wonderful people together and things we didn't even anticipate happening. So thank you, Dr. Khoury, for your service, as Dr. Khoury said, but more importantly, for your continued advice on this. Back to some of the questions that were already set out, and then we'll go to the other questions at the end. I think it's pretty clear, but one of the questions, what inspired you to start the organization?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, the question was, what inspired you to start the organization?
You know, we served, first, we're all about service. We are a service organization in the medical and education fields. We started that very early in all our careers. And we served under multiple organizations, like Physicians for Peace and the Ramallah Federation, ANIRA. Dr. Eid, who's with us today, and I served on the medical committee of ANIRA, and along with Ms. Siegel, who's with us today. And by that, we were on the board of ANIRA for a while until they dissolved that committee. Then we served with the Ramallah Federation. But then we looked around and we saw that we don't want to be so narrow-fielded. So we decided to be for a pan-Palestinian organization. That's why we reorganized the same group we had all the time under the name of Physicians for Palestine. And we started by doing medical missions. That became passé when the doctors were good. We transitioned to training and education. And then we transitioned to capacity building and project building. And I think we proved ourselves in the field that we mean what we say and we do it.
Fantastic. The next question, and I think we started into this already, is that how can individuals who are on this program today, or others who might see it because we're recording it, organizations like the church or others, how can they get involved and be of assistance to you?
Well, you know, we are, like I said, a medical and organizational and educational service for Palestine group. And what we do requires knowledge, expertise, manpower, and not the least of which, funding. So in any of these fields, any of you, like now, Mr. James Khoury already volunteered to help us. That is an amazing thing. We hope by reaching out to your group that we will join hands together. It's more fun and more productive. Any of these fields, doctors, nurses, and we're not only prosthetics or vascular, we're everything. And so basically, expertise, manpower, funding, these are all important things to us. If Dr. Eid Mustafa can add to that, I'll appreciate it. Dr. Eid, unmute yourself. Unmute. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Push button. Dr. Eid, unmute yourself.
There you go.
Yeah, my phone is not responding. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to say hello and thank you all for being here on a Saturday. Our paths crossed, Albert, in the 80s through the ADC a long
Yes.
time ago. We both look different. And special hello to Ellen. I hope you're doing well, Ellen. Yeah, you asked us about what inspired us, Albert. I want to add that the scenes that we see from Gaza, with all these kids getting pulled from under the rubble and losing their limbs and everything else, and not only kids, but adults, this will break any heart. That's really what shifted our direction towards prosthetics. We're still willing to do reconstructive surgery and the things we have done over the years. But, I think without focusing on a particular problem, coming up with generalities about we're going to do everything for everybody, it doesn't get us anywhere. We're focused on this program. We're dedicated to make it happen and to get it to fruition. But I thank you all for taking the time. I don't want to say any more.
Again, thank you. This is amazing. As we speak, and literally as we're having this event, there is a sister organization, UNRWA USA, holding an event in Boston. They're going on a 5-city tour, and the amazing photographer is Montez Azeza is leading that tour. So if anybody listening has an opportunity, check into UNRWA USA and try to help join with them, because I think there's a lot of room for cooperation, which is what I like most about what Dr. Rajai is doing. It's not an ego-driven, this is a need-driven situation, and we know the need is huge. I'm sure you need volunteers as well. So if you can talk about what kind of volunteers you need here and abroad and how we might be able to assist in that as well.
Yes, we have in our group over 70 medical professionals and other professionals. And our goal is to help the Palestinian and the Arab people wherever we can find them. We don't hold support. We are a humanitarian, non-political, non-military organizations. And we are very supportive of UNRWA. UNRWA is one of the best organizations that help the Palestinian. I have a long history with UNRWA. I used to volunteer in refugee camps with UNRWA since I was in high school. And I continue to do that through college, medical school, and now. Every time I go to the West Bank, I go to the refugee camps, clinics, and serve there as well. So yes, UNRWA is dear to our heart, and we'd love to collaborate with UNRWA at any level, or any other organization that requires our services.
But about the volunteers, what kind of volunteers are you in need of here and abroad?
Well, first and foremost, we need medical volunteers of all specialties and all kinds. Second, obviously, we need funding. So we need funding at all levels. The more, the better. The more funding we have, the more we can do. One of the best fundraisers I've ever seen in my life, and one of the cleanest people I've ever seen in my life, is here with today. Badges Katwan is right there. He's a good friend of Laila, your daughter, Albert. And Badges, his big credit is that he's from Ramallah too. So anyway, we need fundraising, we need money, we need volunteers in the medical field, education field at all levels.
Well, on that point then, how do people reach you? Do you have a web page that you want them to go to? Or?
Ruba, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say we probably also need volunteers in the media aspect, like social media, marketing. We need volunteers, fundraising. Fundraising, obviously, as you guys all know, is key for the sustainability of the organization. So anybody that wants to do house parties or talk at events or at the church or at schools and fundraise. So, and then obviously in education, like training, if somebody has any skills that they could offer to train people overseas, that would be another way. But yes, our website is www.pfpal.org, and I'll share it in the chat as well.
Natalia already did. She already shared it, Natalia.
Okay.
There is one volunteer too. She wants to help with media.
Awesome. Very good.
Yeah.
All right,
Very
so
good. We definitely need that.
the next question, and you alluded to some of this, but who are your partners? What organizations are you partnering with?
Ruba, go ahead. You're the expert at that.
Okay, so one of our partners is Anera. We talked about Anera. They help us with shipping once it reaches a port in Israel. Another partner is Airlink. Airlink provides almost pro bono shipping in the U.S. So if we want to ship from in the U.S. to Jordan to Israel, they help us with that as well. We're working with Ta'awan. It's an organization that's Palestinian. It's Palestinian based and it works in Palestine and Lebanon. PSSF might help with providing scholarships and pay tuition for people that aspire to study and become prosthetists or technicians or engineers, and then further support the prosthetics project. The reason I bring that up is currently in Gaza, you only have 6 prosthetists. Can you imagine the number of people that have amputations that's exceeded 10,000 just this war, not counting the amputees before this war? We've had several wars, and you only have 6 prosthetists. So it will be an ongoing process to get people educated, learn, get the degree in this field, and then hire them. Who else did we do? I mean, we've had other organizations approach us, and we said down the line maybe we can collaborate. But for now, these are the main organizations.
But you forgot the 2 most important organizations, Rabbi. One of them is Jerusalem Fund. It is so important because Dr. Eid and I are on the board of that organization.
I'm on the board too. I'm on the board too, and I forgot.
And you are too. And the last and most important organizations is Orthodox Christians for Palestine.
Yes.
Also,
yes.
want to mention we're one of the group for the clinical work that we're doing is H2F, aka the Healing Hands Fund.
Yes.
We can also support you through voicesfromtheholyland.org, something I've been running for the last 10 years now. Every month we have about 1,000 people come to discuss Palestine, and we should promote on that. So we'll get in touch with you later on how we can do that.
Well, Mr. Khoury, you keep giving us more and more reason to love you.
All right, now the last of the questions that are submitted beforehand, and then we'll get to the ones on the chat. And I think it's obvious, but you've got tons of challenges right now. And what are the biggest ones, and how can we, those listening, help overcome some of those challenges?
You know, I always say that there are a lot of challenges for Palestine, the Arab world, and the whole world at this time. We have more obstacles than we have facilitating issues. So that will not deter us. We will keep chipping at them until we get through with them. We started some projects in the West Bank that we thought will never happen. We have obstacles after obstacles, not the least of which is the Israeli government allowing us to get equipment in. And it'll be stuck in the airport for months, you know. But we kept chipping at it and getting everybody we can to help us. And we finally got them all to fruition. They're all operational. So yes, there are a lot of obstacles. We need help with everything, from shipping to procurement to mass media to fundraising. Ruba just sent me a text. Please ask them for donations. So guys, please donate to us. And then we need expertise. We need professionals like Mr. Khoury, who is very good at what we do. So we need his expertise for sure. So,
I found Anera. Anera is the best shipping group I've ever used. I sent rods through them to Gaza and got them through easily. They can get things through when other people can't.
Yeah, we are. That's why we're partners with Anera. We are very close partners with Anera. And they introduced us to their shipping company, which is a pro bono shipping company, Airlink, which Ruba introduced. Yes, Mr. Khoury, we agree with you 100%. What Anera will help us with is tax exemption and getting it from the second step, once it gets to the port or to the airport, to help us take it from there to the target location.
So, if I may add, we might also need some help with government relations. If we send some supplies and get stuck at the airport or seaport in Israel, and we don't have any leverage, I think some government connections might come in handy to resolve those issues.
Thank you, Eid. Absolutely, amen to that. I'll give you an example of that. We ordered a machine for $1.7 million, which is a heart and vascular catheterization unit, and it got to the airport. and the Israelis would find reasons to keep it at the airport and charge us basically rental for space in the airport, and they won't release it. So we had a favorable State Department at the time. One phone call from the American Embassy in Jerusalem to the counterparts of the Israeli government. We got it released in 3 days. So thank you for pointing this out. Government relationships is very, very important.
Yeah. Okay, I think now, Amy, I see a couple of questions in the chat. Can you please share them with us, with Dr. Rajai?
Absolutely. The first question, let's see, is coming from Layla. Was asking if you guys are able to bring medical equipment right now into Gaza.
Okay, medical equipment. This is a word dear to my heart. We've been supplying medical equipment to Palestine for decades. Like one time, my family and I went to Palestine. We had extra 8 suitcases with us, filled with medical equipment, donated medical equipment. Badges went 2 months ago, and he had a suitcase filled with orthopedic equipment. I have a company that specializes in making surgical instruments. And right now, we're making surgical trauma instruments for Gaza and the West Bank. We are also making some instruments for specialized surgeries in the West Bank and Gaza. So yes, we can carry in suitcases, we can ship. They need medical equipment. Give you an idea, we are there to help the people who can't afford healthcare elsewhere. Like we have private sector medicine in the West Bank that is, in some cases, better than the American healthcare. But not many people can afford it. So we're there to help them, the poor people. Now, in the last phase of the war, the Palestinian government had no money. So there was an influx of 500% increase in people who used to go to the private sector, now going to the public sector, because the government cannot pay tahwilat, the referrals to private sector. So the private sector is rejecting them. So there's a 500% increase in the public sector population of patients. Now, to do that, UNDP, which is the United Nations group, hired some highly specialized surgeons and specialists in the hospitals. In Ramallah Hospital, they hired 5 specialists: neurosurgeon, vascular surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, OB gynecologist, and I forgot the last one. But anyway, urologist, sorry. So these surgeons are very highly specialized, and they need highly specialized medical equipment. And they keep calling, please buy it for us. We don't have the equipment to work with. So yes, to your question, we are in dire need of surgical equipment. And some of them can be donated. Like we donated a lot of equipment, but some of them are very expensive. We have to buy them. I cannot donate a mammogram unit. I had to buy it. I paid over $1.5 million to buy. I didn't pay it myself. A generous donor bought it for us to buy a state-of-the-art women's health breast cancer unit. So it takes money. So yes, we need money for that. Like now, I have a proposal to buy neurosurgical equipment worth about $1 million. I don't have a penny of that yet, but inshallah we'll get it.
Well,
sorry, let me note that on the list I just saw, there's more people who joined. 2 very prominent doctors who've been very, very successful in helping both in Lebanon and Palestine, Nasser Abu Sitta and Jamil Bayram. And when the port blast took place in Lebanon, they were instrumental in getting 6 containers almost immediately sent with medical supplies. So hopefully, I don't want to volunteer them, but hopefully they can help us with their advice at some point and how we can continue this, because they've been very, very active on Palestine as well.
That would be awesome. You know, to give you an idea, talking about Southern Lebanon dialysis program, we used to send teams from Palestine to help them with the dialysis program. You know, dialysis sometimes can be done through a catheter in the neck. The team that went there tells me that the catheter in the neck would be infected and they cannot be replaced because there is no catheters to replace it. So even the most basic equipment is lacking in Lebanon and in Palestine.
Okay, Amy, more question? Or Dr. Nasser Abu Sitta, do you want to say something?
I would like to apologize first for meeting you a little late. I got late notice of this meeting, so I was having prior commitments. But this is an awesome work. This is awesome work. We always try to get something done. I am more aware of what's happening on the ground in Egypt to the 110,000 refugees there. They are in dire condition. They are treated like so poorly, so badly. And whatever help gets to them is usually from international organizations or from Palestinian or Arab organizations, not the local authorities. So I was wondering if there is any effort to start actually working with the Egyptians, because we do have the major bulk of our injured people are in Egypt. Whoever made it out and can get help is in Egypt. I know we cannot get to Gaza. Nobody can get inside. In Ramallah, probably, and in the West Bank, there are a few people here and there. But the bulk of the work has to be focused on Egypt. We really need to work with the Egyptians. We may need to have to establish some centers there and start meeting patients there and treat them with respect and funnel all our efforts to those centers to get the most bang for your buck as we go forward, trying to do what we can.
Dr. Nasser, can I ask you a question?
Okay.
Like Dr. Rajai has mentioned before, we do have another organization. It's called Hanan Relief Group, and we are registered in the Palestinian territories, and we do humanitarian and economic development. The issue with Egypt, and maybe you can help with that we've had is if you wire anything into Egypt, then first of all, the conversion rate that the government approves is not correct, and basically they take a big chunk of it. Have you had that issue with Egypt, and how are you getting stuff into Egypt without giving a big portion of it to the government, to the Egyptian government?
Well, we get it there. We get
Okay,
it
so
there
like
fairly.
there are ways to work.
There are ways
Maybe,
fairly to be done, and there are ways fairly to keep your money with its value, with true value, and that's why I mentioned in my note that these efforts that I'm aware of are all individual efforts, and
okay.
you done through the Palestinian embassy in so they can
Yeah.
funnel and coordinate without touching our money.
Just
But somewhere through
So-
them probably.
Yeah, and maybe we could talk to our team about initiating some of the patients in Egypt. We'll have to talk to the clinical team, but we'll be happy to connect with you to look into this further.
Absolutely. And I can bring to your attention what is being done. I'm not doing it personally, but one of my brothers is actually gung-ho about it for the last year and a half, shuttling back and forth to Egypt, connecting with the prosthetists, making sure that each patient gets what they had been hoping for, and they're paying for it from Canadian money.
Okay. We'll get your information from Mr. Albert, but Dr. Jay, Nikhail wants to chime in. Can we
Please
let
go ahead.
Nikhail chime in? Go ahead, Nikhail.
Hi, so I definitely wanted to give everyone on the call update as to our current efforts in terms of what we've been able to do, just so we can talk about like the tangible things we've already been able to do. So far, we've been able to do fittings for 3 patients in Gaza. We have almost daily talks with the team at the ALPC to be able to do successful scanning, fitting, uploading of medical documents, and fitting with plaster and plastic for the 3 patients. Our initial pilot is going to be for 10 patients. And of those 10 patients, our current plan for patients 1 through 3, right now, we're evaluating and going to get all the scans in. We've been able to collaborate with Lindbergh to be able to make sure we could get all the scans. So this is in between internet blackouts, in between time differences, in between all of us working full-time jobs and then doing this after work. We were still able to get in to be able to work with the teams on the ground to be able to fit 3 patients and get proper scans. So for patients 4 through 10, we're seeing if we can work for a digital solution that will be entirely net new. So we're innovating as well on the ground in terms of due to the circumstances, methods, and really using cutting edge technology given the circumstances to be able to ensure that we can fit patients. Once we have those 10 patients fit, we're going to be then making sure we can get the limbs in. We have been able to get medical equipment and iPhones in. the iPhones we're able to get in through a variety of people's donations or connections that we have, to be able to ensure that we can have the iPhones for scanning for the patients. So we want to make it very clear. This is not abstract that we are working with Gaza. We have very directly been able to work with people in the ground in Gaza today. And I have colleagues that I'm talking to who are in Gaza today about efforts that we're currently doing. So while the media and many conversations make you think that getting into Gaza is impossible, a bunch of people who work full-time jobs, who have a variety of skill sets, and who are doing everything they can out of the bottom of their heart have been able to do it. So the one message that I want to be able to spread before anything is like, this is not an abstract project. This is something that people are dedicating a lot of effort and time towards on top of existing work. And it is not something that people feel like they have to say, oh, I should be good enough to do this, or I should be somewhere to do this. We show up as we are, we show up with what we can do, and we show up with the capacity to be able to help people right now, where many other people would say it was too hard.
Yeah. Not to downplay the current blockade or the fact that the Israelis do, block and not allow aid in. But like Nikal said, there's a lot of determination in this group. And a lot of people, like you said, we're all volunteers who have jobs. And there's a lot of determination on the Gaza side. But absolutely not to downplay the current blockade and Israeli, obstructing everything, literally.
To Mr. Nasser's presentation, we in the prosthetic project now have found certain things which are honestly discouraging. There are many hobbyists and governments and organizations who give prosthetics. They give them to the Gaza people. And here's what happened. They give the prosthesis, turn their back, and walk away. So the patients that receive the prosthetic would very soon, the stump will remold and change, and the prosthesis needs follow-up and adjustments. And when there's no adjustments and no follow-up, ulcers would develop. Dr. Eid can address that better than I can. Right. That are very difficult to heal and may take years and years to heal, maybe never heal, require re-amputations. Like there's one government that gave multiple prosthetics to the Gaza people. And the Gaza people now are saying, we don't want that because 3 months down the road from receiving the prosthetic, doesn't fit them anymore. There's no one to take care of them. So any prosthetic project, be it bank, has to have all components of the prosthetic project, including fitting, screening, stump care, and then giving the prosthesis and very, very meticulous follow-up and care. And then physical therapy and rehab and psychological therapy. Otherwise, the project will fail. This is why we decided from day number one, quality is the first issue. We'll do the project from A to Z with no compromise.
We have a question in the chat. Amy?
Yes, one of them is, do you all collaborate with the National Arab American Medical Association? Also from Leila, from the question earlier, and she also says that she can help with media as well. So if you, to second to that question, if you guys can let us know the best way for them to reach the organization and get in contact with you guys.
Well, first of all, this is music to our hearts. Second, I'll let Ruba answer whether we do or don't.
Yes, in regards to media, we definitely need help. The best way, if you guys want, I'll share my email, and you can contact me on it's just my first initial, last name, and at pfpal.org. And also, everybody, please visit our website, pfpal.org.
If I'm
and NAMA, Dr. Rajai, you could answer about NAMA.
Okay, I'll let Baja speak first. He had something to say.
If I can speak just for a second.
Hold on, Bajas. There are many doctors in our group. So when you go on a mission, everybody is doctor so. So we have to give Bajas. He's a businessman fundraiser. We have to give him a title doctor. So he gave himself a title. He called himself Dr. Love. So please, Dr. Love, go ahead.
Thank you so much. What I want to say is just kind of reiterate on a couple of comments that were made. The reason of everybody's involvement is they just have so much passion and love for what they do. Every single person here is a full-time doing their own work and their own business and successful people. And they're in this is, again, not being hobbyist, this is a long life commitment for every single person that's been here doing this, and there's just absolutely incredible people. So I'm going to say is if you guys please look at the website, and if you can donate. If you could pass on the website information to other people. No money goes to anything but the cause. No traveling, no boarding, no nothing at all whatsoever. So everyone is into it on their own merit, and I just really applaud that. And that's the best way to keep things, on the utmost, I guess, respectful, honest way, is to not have anything go to but just the cause. And I appreciate everybody. Thank you guys so much. Just gives me a great feeling seeing everybody on this call. I just want to say that. Thank you.
Amy, I'm sorry, the second part of your question, can I help you answer that?
It was Nama.
Nama.
Nama, yes, Nama. Yeah, Ruba, you forgot Nama, Ruba.
I didn't. I told you to comment on it.
Nama is one of our partners, and we recently had a few meetings with them, and they donated generously to our project. Yes.
Since this is being recorded and everybody won't see the live questions, and for the sake of those who may see it on YouTube tomorrow or down the road, can you then just spell out the name of the website again so that they can take it down when they view it in the future?
Yes, the website is PFPAL, so PFPAL stands for Physicians for Palestine, so pfpal.org. Very simple. pfpal.org.
And
my email, to spell it out, my email is r and then sarsauer@pfpal.org.
And Amy, just to let you know, Ruba, Eid, and I are all members of NAMA, and Eid is a past president of NAMA as well.
Wonderful. Catherine Donovan also asked, at the beginning of the meeting, someone mentioned fundraising via olive oil and soap sales, and where can we support? And again, that's on the pfpal.org. Thank you, Dr. Sarsour, for answering that. Dr. Abu Sitta, I think we addressed the question, was basically like, where are you meeting patients outside of Gaza and the West Bank because of the refugees in Egypt? And then I think that's all the questions. Does anybody have any other questions?
Just if I may add something about NAMA. NAMA is having its next national convention that we are chairing here. I have a group of people for October. I am currently the chairperson for that convention. We like to have one of our nights usually dedicated for fundraising for the foundation, and maybe this can be targeted as a project to direct our fundraising for that night for this particular project. I can talk to any of you at length at any point. Dr. Eid definitely has a long history with NAMA and has worked with NAMA and helped build NAMA, so we can talk about this for the Sunday night to maybe link it to one of these particular projects and focus on it from today going forward, which is 4 months down the road.
So, Dr. Eid, can you collaborate with Dr. Nasser and make this a reality? That would be great. Thank you very much, Dr.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited about the meeting in October. And one of the main things for a successful fundraiser is to have a clear idea about what you're asking support for. We drifted into prosthetics. None of us really is into that field because of the need and because it's so clear a project. So Nasser, I'll be happy to chat with you about it maybe later.
Great, thank you.
You're talking about after we finish the conference, right?
Right.
And don't keep it till tomorrow. Don't keep it till tomorrow.
No. I'm talking about. We have NAMA has a executive committee meeting next week. Maybe we can do it at that time.
Before we close, can we call upon Dr. Jamil Bayram? I know he wasn't prepared to give anything official, but I think his experience in providing assistance to the port after the explosion in Beirut, when he was the head of ER at Johns Hopkins. Jamil, if you could just give us a few pointers on how you pull that off and how it might be helpful for the group today.
I mean, I tell you, You know, Lebanon is a second home to me. I grew up as a professional in Lebanon, did my undergraduate and medical school at the American University of Beirut, and I cannot tell you how much I love Lebanon, just as much as I love Palestine and Syria and the Arab world. So,
thank you all for doing this. Sounds like an amazing effort. I do identify as an American of Lebanese descent with a Palestinian heart. In many ways, what's happening over the past 2.5 years, I think, is more of a war on hope and war on history and memories. And I think in many ways, each one of us is trying to do what they can in their own capacity to keep hope alive and keep the story alive and keep the memories alive. To answer Albert's question, in many ways, this reminds me of 2003 when the U.S. decided to invade Iraq under many pretexts. And I took a leave without pay from my job in Chicago for 3 months, and I worked in a civilian hospital building capacity in south of Iraq in April of 2003, and I stayed there for 3 months. But what's happening right now, especially in Gaza, is on a completely different scale because of the geographical siege, because of the complete embargo on essentials of life. I was just drafting an email to Dr. Sarsour and asking to connect at her earliest convenience to see how I can help as an emergency physician by training, and through my American University alumnus status, I am privileged to be connected to hundreds of highly accomplished clinicians in the United States. As you know, 70% of graduating classes, 70 to 80% of every graduating class from the American University is here in the United States with stellar careers. Many of those who I know are willing to help and are eager to help. So I will touch base with you all offline, and I am more than willing to help and participate in any way possible, and to make things move forward.
That's amazing. Thank you, Dr. Jamil. And our time, and I want to keep it to that time so that when people watch it, it's within that time frame. But we cannot thank each and every one of you enough. This has been a fantastic first endeavor for us, and so grateful for all of you who were able to join, and especially for those physicians who are putting their lives, and nurses like Ellen, literally on the line to do this. So I want to thank you, and Dr. Rajai, if you want to give the final words before we close.
So we are a group of volunteers committed to the service, not only for the Palestinian people, but also for the Arab people and the humanity at large in Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, anywhere. We have no ulterior motive except service. We're all about service. We help in the medical field and education field. We are seeking targets of opportunity to help in, but that doesn't mean that we don't help in other ways. So when I met my wife a long, long time ago in Lebanon, actually, at the American University of Beirut, the first week I met her, we were dating, she sent me a plaque, 2 kids on a swing, a boy and a girl. Underneath it, together is more fun. And I have that plaque hung at home. I see it every day. Together is more fun and it's more productive. So please join hands with us and let's do it together. It's more fun, more productive. Thank you so much for being here. Much appreciated. Thank you, Albert. Thank you, Rula. Thank you, Salim. Thank you, everybody, for being here today.
Okay, thank you again for being here. And we are grateful to Dr. Khoury and Dr. Sarsour and all the doctors for their time. And we hope today inspires a new ways to support Gaza and West Bank. May God bless you all. And thank you, and have a wonderful day.